Hi, I'm James Thanis from OnlineITGuide.com, and today I'm going to talk about passwords. Not long ago, the only time you only heard of somebody using a password was maybe in a movie, or maybe somebody you knew who worked for the military or something like that. But nowadays everybody has at least one password, and chances are, if 5 years ago you had 1 or 2 passwords, today you've got 10 or 15 or 20 passwords or even more. So, and also recently a lot of what is considered a good password has changed, and things that I might have recommended, things that I did myself a few years ago, are really a terrible idea to use right now as far as a password or keeping track of your passwords. So how do you keep track of your passwords, and what makes a good password? And that's what this is all about. The first step to choosing a good password is to use as many characters as you can. 3 characters. If I told you I had a password with 3 characters and they're all lowercase, you might even be able to guess it after a few tries. But ideally you want to make your password as long as you possibly can, and the minimum would be like 12 characters, but ideally you want to be looking at somewhere in 20-25 characters at least for your password. You also want to avoid using actual words that you might find in a dictionary. Hackers have dictionaries, and they have software that can that can check those words out of a dictionary really quick. So you want to avoid using actual words as part of your password. You want to use random characters. Something that doesn't really make sense. In addition to not using words that you would find in a dictionary, also don't just use all lowercase letters from the alphabet. Use uppercase, use lowercase, and add some punctuation in there. That makes it a lot more difficult to crack because you're adding more possibilities to what each character could be. So if you've got a long password that's 20-25 characters long, and you're adding uppercase, lowercase, and punctuation in there, it's a whole lot more difficult to crack and almost impossible to guess. Some other things that you don't want to do is use birthdays or anniversaries or names of family members or pets as part of your password, because there's a good chance that somewhere on Facebook or some social network you've let your birthday get out, or your parents' names get out, or something like that. So don't use personal information as part of your password. And at the same time, there's always those secret questions that they have so that you can recover a password. And often those are really easy. What city were you born? What's your, what kind of car did you have? Don't use easy to guess answers for those. You don't maybe have to have a 25-character random character password basically for the answer to those questions. But if the question is, what city were you born in? Use the name of a car. Use something that doesn't make sense for the answer. It'll make it a lot more difficult for somebody to, once you get your hacked email address back and change the password, it'll make it a lot harder for them to get back into your account again. So don't change those personal questions that they have so that you can get your password back to something that doesn't make sense. And yeah, you're going to probably have to write all this down, because it's going to be pretty difficult to remember it if you keep changing it, because not all the questions are the same. Now that we've talked about what makes up a good password, we're actually not going to start talking about how to use them. Don't use the same password for more than one account. Once a hacker can find one password for one of your accounts, it's real easy for them to try it out on all sorts of different other social networks, different emails, and find out where maybe that password is also used again. So you only want to use one password for each account, and it makes it really hard because you might have 20 different accounts to try to keep track of. But it's worth it, because then you find out that your password, somebody's hacked into your account somewhere, you only have one password that you have to change. You don't have 20 of them that you have to go figure out and change them all. So it makes you a lot safer, and it makes things a lot easier when things do go wrong, if they do. Now, there are cases when a 25-character random password is simply not going to do. If you have to type in something that makes absolutely no sense to you, it's basically a long string of nonsense to type in for your email every time you use it, you're not going to want to use a password like that, and you're going to end up choosing something that's too simple and easy to crack. So there are a couple other ideas that you can use to come up with good passwords. You can use a short sentence from maybe a favorite book or a favorite movie or something like that. Mix a little capitalization and punctuation in there and some numbers, and you've got a pretty good password. Another technique is if you have a limited number of possible characters, like maybe the site is a site that you need to log into is limiting you to a password that's only 12 characters long. Use the first letter or the last letter of a word from a couple sentences. You can remember easily. Again, try to throw in a number or some punctuation in there, and you've got a password that's easy to remember, doesn't take too long to type back in, And it's okay for something that you have to use a lot. Don't use it for your bank account. Again, try to use as complicated a password as you can for your important accounts. But if you have something that you are constantly typing in, you're never going to remember a random string of 25 characters. It's just not really possible for most people. So, but use something that you can, but still is hard to crack for and safe for you to use. Okay, so now you've got a bunch of really long passwords, and some of them are completely random characters. How in the world are you going to keep that straight? In addition to that, you've got bizarre answers for some of the password reset questions. How in the world are you going to remember all this? And this is where I go against what is considered safe and actually suggest that you just simply write them down on a notebook somewhere. Now, if you're at work, you obviously probably can't do that safely because somebody will break into your desk and get the passwords. But at home, you can keep passwords in a safe place away from your computer so that if somebody should break into your house and steal your computer, they don't have the passwords at the same time, nice and handy. So go ahead and write them down, keep them safe, but that isn't the best solution. There's a far better solution, and that's using a software program. A password management program or service can really make life a lot easier, especially now that we have the internet and we're typing in passwords all day long. You know, writing a password down and then trying to type it out each time you need it can be almost as bad as just trying to remember it in the first place. So a program that keeps track of your passwords and helps you use more complicated ones can really make life a lot easier. And most of them encrypt the data, all the passwords, so that somebody comes across the file, they can't just access your passwords real easy. I use a free program called KeePass. There's other ones like RoboForm for Windows and 1Password for Mac. There's also online services like LastPass where your passwords are encrypted on your computer and then stored somewhere on the internet so that you can reach them from any computer. So using a program is really probably the best system of keeping track of lots of passwords and keeping them safe. I've covered a lot about passwords in this video, and I still haven't covered everything I'd like to, but it's already been getting a little bit too long. So I'd encourage you to visit my website, onlineitguide.com, and look for the post, The Ultimate Guide to Passwords, and you'll get a few more hints and a few more do's and do nots about passwords. But whatever you do, make sure you use a good password for all your accounts and keep those passwords safe. And please give me a thumbs up on YouTube. Have a great day.